Hi, girls and boys. It's Pastor Ed here with another Sunday children's message. I'm in a different location. A lot of times when Mr. Josh records me, I'm in the church, and sometimes I've done it from my office. Today, I'm actually out in the front hallway or narthex at church, and want to talk to you about two of our readings from this morning. The first is Psalm 23, probably the best known of all the psalms or poems or in the Bible, and then John, the Gospel of John, a reading from the Gospel of John, the 10th chapter. I'm not going to say anything more about them till the end because I don't want to give away what I want to talk about. But I do have a prop, or the first of props, and I'm holding it here. This is not a full-size version. If any of you have ever been in the Christmas pageant at church, you might know what this is. And if you do, keep it a secret for now from the others. But this is called a crook. And it became a very useful tool in Bible times, in ancient times, for a particular kind of worker. A person who worked, I'll give this much away right now, animals. So I'm going to pull out some animals and see if any of these are the animals that we would use this particular tool with. So the first one I have here is what? An elephant. Now, elephants are found in Africa and in India, but it's not an elephant that you would use that on. Here's another one. You probably recognize the long neck, right? A giraffe. Well, you didn't use this tool on a giraffe, mainly because those are big animals. Here's another really big one, a hippopotamus. They're in the rivers and stuff. They're really big, and you'd have a hard time using this crook to help you work with the hippopotamus. Oh, how about a shark? Nah, I mean, the sharks are in the ocean, and so you wouldn't be out in the ocean with that. But I have some others. Here are a couple of bears. And actually, in Palestine or Israel, in biblical times, there would have been some bears. Not a whole lot of them, and they're not really big ones, but there would have been bears. But there also might have been lions and leopards or cheetahs, okay? Animals like that. And wolves. I didn't have an example of a wolf. Now, this tool called a crook, you can't tame. Well, you can tame bears, but they didn't tame bears and lions and things. Those were wild animals. So what the crook did, now, it's used in a lot of different ways. It kind of looks like it could be a walking stick, so it probably was. But it also could be used as a weapon to fight things off, and that's what they would have used it for with a lion or a bear, in order to protect the animal that they did use the crook with. And I've got two examples of that animal. What are these? Huh? You're right, sheep. Sheep. And so this tool is called a shepherd's crook. And it was used by the shepherds who would take the sheep and kind of take them out to graze and take care of them, lead them where they needed to go. Sheep are not the smartest animals in the world, so they have to be led to different pastures. Otherwise, they'll just keep eating until there's nothing left. But also, if you don't have a shepherd watching over them, they'll just wander off. And they'll do that sometimes while they're eating. Oh, they're just eating away, and the grass is there, and they keep eating. Before they know it, they don't know where they are. And not only that, sometimes you hear about cats and dogs that get lost on vacation and find their way back home to their families. Not with sheep. Sheep just they just can't do that. So they need a shepherd to lead them to where there's fresh grass to graze on, to eat, water to drink, keep them from getting lost, and also to fight away the wild animals that might come upon the flock of sheep. So the shepherd was important in the lives of the sheep, that shepherd took care of them, fed them, led them, protected them, guided them, kept them from getting lost. And one of his key thing, maybe the key thing that he had, was the shepherd's crook. So he could get them by the neck and lead them. He could kind of nudge them. And if it was an animal that was attacking them, he could use the crook. They probably also had other things. If you know the story of David and Goliath, David was a shepherd boy, and he had a slingshot where he used small stones that he could kill animals with. In fact, he became really good at doing that, and that's what enabled him when he fought the giant Goliath. If you haven't read that story, maybe somebody at home, mom or dad or somebody, could read the story of David and Goliath to you. David was a shepherd boy who could fling a stone in order to fight back, in that case, a giant warrior by the name of Goliath. But when he was a shepherd boy, to protect them from the wild animals, wolves and lions and the like. Well, the 23rd Psalm, which is one of our readings this morning, begins by saying, "The Lord is my shepherd." And then it goes on to say that how the Lord takes us to green pastures and still waters and comforts us and takes care of us. All the things that a shepherd did in biblical times with the sheep. The person who wrote the psalm said that's the way God behaves for us, or that's the way that's the role that God takes for us. God is our shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. And even more than that, in the Gospel of John, Jesus even said, "I am the good shepherd." Not a hired hand, who runs away, when there's danger, when there's wild animals. The good shepherd is willing to stay and fight and even give up his life for the flock, for the sheep. And Jesus said, "I'm the good shepherd." And so that's a very special message, a very comforting message for us, that we may not know much about sheep, I certainly don't, or about shepherds, but we know what it is like to be cared for and protected and guided. And that's the role of a shepherd, and that's God's role in our lives as well. We can always trust and believe and be filled with joy and hope that God watches over us the way a shepherd watches over the sheep. So keep that in mind this morning as you go into your Sunday school lesson, but also during the week. Jesus is the good shepherd. The Lord is our shepherd. Well, that's the message for this week. I hope you guys have a good day today and a good week, and we'll be back together with you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.